Hey, good morning, everyone. Meteorologist Jessica Blum joining you from our side studio. We've got a couple places that we can do some of these videos here at Channel 8, and so I'm in the side studio just to try out, get kind of things set up over here in case I need to do a video over here, which you might start to see some more videos come from over here as I have some more time to work in this studio. But I'm already planning today to kind of be a longer video just to update you on the heat expected today. This is day 3 of the heat, but also the severe potential. That's what I'm normally putting videos up on YouTube for. So we're going to talk a bit about that today. It is Tuesday, July 29th, so we're talking about the forecast. That'll be good for Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, Tuesday night, into Wednesday. July 30th as we round out the month of July and then head into August. But this time of the year always brings up the age-old question. We're going to have a little fun here before we get into the forecast. Looking at Nebraska extremes. We experience both extremes in the winter and in the summer, whether that's high humidity, high heat, high temperatures that you see on the right side or on the left side, the extreme wind chills. Northwest Nebraska. This was a forecast from December of 2022 with some wind chills 50, 60 below, which personally, if I were to answer that question, I would take more of the right side with some of those, with the heat and humidity, escaping from some of that with the AC. And I know some people argue you can always put more layers on to warm up, but you can't always take them all off. There are arguments to be made on both sides, but personally, I'd rather have the summer heat and humidity than the winter and all that winter brings with the ice chipping and the snow and clearing cars out and travel, worrying about getting stranded. It's just a mess of things. We had to have some fun there because that conversation always comes up at this time of the year. Wanted to bring up high temperatures from yesterday because western Nebraska, actual air temperatures were in the triple digits, and we're going to experience a similar day to what we saw yesterday here in southeast Nebraska, middle upper 90s. But look at McCook. Cooking at 105 yesterday. 105 in Imperial, 106 even in Ogallala, but several temperature readings in the triple digits, not even factoring in the humidity, but we know the higher humidity is certainly in eastern Nebraska, and namely southeast Nebraska at this time of the year. Got to 97 in Lincoln, Omaha, Hastings, and Grand Island. Not always that you see all of us at that same temperature reading, but boy did we get there yesterday. Then I wanted to have some fun because our tower camera has had some pretty cool sights this morning. Of course, we always get a pretty good view of the sunrise, but you'll see as I get later in the 6 o'clock hour and into early 7, this is just after 7:01, I started to move the camera, and our director behind the scenes, Evan, had noticed while I was panning the camera to get it in place for the end of our morning show, a bird perched on our tower. So he's been sitting out there for quite some time. Late in the 6 o'clock hour, now we're late in the 8 o'clock hour, and as I take a live view, he's still perched up there. It kind of looks like he's got one of his legs perched up, and sometimes his head, he'll tuck in his back feathers and kind of go to sleep. So I've seen a little bit of that this morning. He's also been pretty active and just looking at the camera, looking out over Lincoln. He's been kind of fun to watch here early this morning. I'm pretty sure this is a falcon. We were kind of looking that up, and Andrew and I think it's a peregrine falcon. But that's been really fun to see. So some other things in talking about the heat today, it is not as widespread. Not as widespread as the dangerous heat across Nebraska. So we've come down from the extreme heat warning of the past couple of days as we saw a peak heat index nearing 113 both of the last 2 days here in Lincoln. We've got a heat advisory in place for southeast Nebraska today from noon till 8 o'clock. So the cold front that is going to be the focus of some thunderstorm development later on is going to confine a lot of the worst of the heat and humidity in southeast Nebraska. For us to experience one more day of this heat wave before we get better conditions at the end of this week. So here's a look at forecasted highs across the area today. Again, middle and upper 90s. When you have multiple days of these stacking on top of each other, that's the wear and kind of the gruelingness that we just got to get through. It's also summer in Nebraska. We typically see this in a summer, but the peak heat index somewhere around 105 to 110 degrees. and hence why we have a heat advisory, not an extreme heat warning. And then there's the threat for severe weather. This is the latest update from the Storm Prediction Center. A slight level 2 out of 5 risk basically paints the entire state, really for everyone. And the main impacts, the primary concerns as stronger storms tonight will be damaging wind. There could be some hail with early storms. I'll point that out, mainly in western Nebraska, southwest Nebraska. Some heavy rain potential too if multiple rounds of storms are moving over the same areas. Could see some localized areas of flooding. But the main timing of this across the state is starting around 5 o'clock this evening through the early morning hours of Wednesday. So we're going to break all that down. Here's again a look across the state at that severe risk. If I zoom out a little bit more, you can see that the slight level 2 out of 5 risk is the highest risk we have really anywhere across the nation. It is just this risk for severe weather that Nebraska is included in on. That slight risk starts all the way back in Montana, though, into Wyoming, portions of South Dakota, Rapid City, Black Hills area, and then into Nebraska. So we're going to break this down today. Again, the main threat for us in Nebraska, going to be some heavy rain, some damaging wind, though. We actually have an area of hash marks, these black hash marks. When you're breaking down the threats, in terms of the wind, can mean wind gusts could exceed 75 miles an hour. And this starts around Ogallala up toward Hyannis and Mullen, and then traces the I-80 corridor, and then for areas just north. So Kearney, Grand Island, up toward Columbus, Lincoln on the edge of this, Omaha included in this, and this for tonight into potentially the overnight hours. So we'll want to keep that in mind. Hail, again, not as a primary threat, as a smaller chance overall to really see any... Sorry, my Apple Watch is going off. A smaller chance overall of seeing any severe hail. There's just a 5% risk of seeing any hail within 25 miles of a point. So I think the better chance is actually as storms come out of Colorado into southwest Nebraska early on in this event, we could see some hail out that way. And then less of a chance as storms are pushing into eastern Nebraska. But the chance is still there. So I'm going to show you a couple versions of Stormcast. I'm first going to show you what I showed on air this morning and then how that stacks up against the latest version of this Stormcast model I'm going to show you. If you're into watching some of these models, this is the HRRR, the HER model that we call it. So we're going to show you a couple different runs from that model in what we're expecting today. So this is today at 3 o'clock. You'll notice a couple areas of storms coming out of Colorado and moving into southwest Nebraska, and then another area of storms in South Dakota moving into northern Nebraska. So this is 5 o'clock. Moving forward in the night, then you see this all merge from southwest Nebraska all the way up through northern Nebraska together tonight, 8, 9, 10 o'clock. Strong to severe weather, certainly a possibility in these areas as these storms are getting going, and then slowly dropping into southeast Nebraska closer to midnight. Heavy rain, 3, 4 in the morning possible. And then some scattered showers. Severe threat really drops off after about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. As you see what's left over for the morning commute. A few showers, maybe a rumble of thunder. What I will say though is I'm always limited in the morning show to show you, I basically have to pick between the 0Z and the 6Z run of models. And they're not always the best. Honestly, the timing and some of the better picture of what's actually going to happen happens as we get later model runs throughout the day. 12Z starts to look a little bit better, and then Rusty even has more models to look at after that. So I usually will lean on the 12Z into the midday, especially with what's been happening lately and how we've been seeing these models this year. But so that's what I'm going to show you now, but I will say I would keep up to date with what Rusty's even showing later this afternoon and evening as he continues to look at later model runs and gets a better handle of looking at all of these and what will actually go down. So this is again starting up at 3 o'clock. This is the one I'd probably lean on for a better idea of timing and placement of some of these storms. But again, storms coming out of Colorado, moving to southwest Nebraska, and then where this cold front sets up, kind of meanders from southwest Nebraska into eastern Nebraska, I think we really could see some of these storms actually popping in eastern Nebraska rather than waiting on storms coming out of South Dakota. I like this model in its development of storms almost in and around the Platte River toward Columbus and in eastern Nebraska, and then showing those kind of expanding across northeast Nebraska but still coming together. This is midnight though, and you still don't see storms. I mean, they're nearby. They're in the vicinity of Lincoln, but they haven't quite got into southeast Nebraska. This model waits to bring some of those until really overnight, pushing 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I still think there could be a risk for severe weather with some of these as they're moving through before what's left over and what kind of swings in on the backside for some bonus rain early on Wednesday that you see in northeast Nebraska and toward the Missouri River. So that's kind of breaking down what we're expecting Tuesday. Again, our last day of hot weather today, and then tomorrow with cloud cover and a little lingering rain in the morning. We should be cooler, still high humidity I think for tomorrow, but a high of 80. And then the 70s take over for the end of this month and early August for several days. And we should see a drop in humidity for the end of this week too. So really looking forward to that. And again, we'll post any updates. But for now, that's Tuesday's risk for severe weather in Nebraska on July 29th, 2025.